For months now, Russia has been the main defender of al-Assad. The country has put its international reputation at stake, and all this for Syria. So what drives Russia to confront the United States? Why does Moscow care about Syria or al-Assad? Well, the truth is, they really don't. Russia has no particular interest for Syria, and they don't care much for al-Assad either. The Russian naval facility in Syria and the weapon exports are only symbolic interests. Now, Russian interests come down to two things, and neither has anything to do with Syria. This is a Caspian report by me, Shirvan. Russia's initial interest is to keep US troops and resources bogged down in an endless series of conflicts throughout the Middle East. This gives Moscow more maneuverability to reassert its influence in the former Soviet Union. The fact that Washington has been preoccupied with Iraq and Afghanistan for the past decade has given Moscow a window of opportunity to regain its influence in countries like Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, etc. So Putin wants to extend this window of opportunity until they can get the Eurasian Union up and running. Now, the Eurasian Union is not like the USSR, but it is the closest thing to it. It is a start platform to reintegrate the economies and foreign policies of former Soviet states under the leadership of Russia. This is what Russia has been working on for the past decade. But convincing all these former Soviet countries to rejoin Russia has proven to be a difficult endeavor. Most of the countries had doubts about Russia's capabilities, and some even sought to defy Russia by aligning with NATO, like Georgia. And this is where Syria comes in. By standing up against the United States, Russia is creating the illusion of a re-emerging Russian superpower. Think about it, when was the last time you saw Washington back down from a geopolitical decision? The Russian proposal to neutralize all of the Syrian chemical weapons have shown exactly that. So even though Russia doesn't have the resources of a superpower, it certainly has the tone of a superpower. Furthermore, while Obama and Putin were arguing about Syria, bringing up Cold War memories, countries in the immediate proximity of Russia suddenly felt the pressure of a superpower in their backyards. So it was no surprise to see Armenia suddenly turn its back on the European Union's integration process and publicly embrace Russia in joining the Eurasian Union. This went by unnoticed in the mainstream media, but it is an example of the effectiveness of the Russian strategy in Syria. And it just shows you how much influence Russia has regained just by appearing as a superpower. You have to see the American-Russian scuffle as an idol's performance, with Syria being the stage. If all goes according to the Russian plan, we will soon see Ukraine and Moldova do the same thing as Armenia did and join the Eurasian Union. Even Georgia, the country that was at war with Russia, is having doubts about NATO and considering joining the Eurasian Union. Because from the perspective of Russia's neighbors, the US was incapable of acting during the Russian-Georgian War back in 2008, and now again the US is wavering when Russia stands up to defend Syria. It just strengthens the image of a Russian superpower while at the same time portraying the US as a declining power. However, if the US does decide to continue with the strike plan, it would be a blow to Russia's image, because they wouldn't be able to really do much about it unless the US was dragged into another decade-long conflict. In geopolitics, a proxy war doesn't necessarily mean the players have an interest for the region. Nobody really cared about Afghanistan during the 1980s, and yet it was a battlefield in which the Soviet Union and the United States were flexing their muscles. A similar situation has now been formed in Syria, in which the United States and Russia are playing a game of poker, and both are calling each other's bluff. This was a Caspian report by me, Shirvan. Thank you for watching. Take care and sağ ol.